Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, October 20th, 2019. In both the Lynn Life and the Jamie Body Mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the many rules already given to the search for truth community by wiser minds above all of us. And those rules include doing the work that it takes to create worlds that work in all dimensions and for all categories of sentience inside of those dimensions, since that's what our soul contracts commit us to doing.
That's true.
Which is an enormous assignment with a lot of different facets, and thankfully wiser minds above have broken down that enormous project and given us some actual snippets of effort to focus upon.
That's true.
And when we're given an assignment to film, we have to figure out what is the assignment for the filming that intersects with the overarching assignments we've already been given, so that we aren't wasting anybody's time, including the wiser minds above and everybody else is affiliated with this effort.
That's true.
The pencil point, somebody upstairs is tapping the pencil point upon the issue of the vast bell curve of intention and awareness, also known as the vast bell curve of karma.
That's true.
And how we've been asking for maybe a year now to use our efforts to shorten the karmic cycles, at least for the tails of the bell curve.
That's true.
The people at the upper end of the bell curve and the people at the lower end of the bell curve, to attempt to on-stick the rebellion to spirit and the resistance to doing what we're actually supposed to be doing.
That's true.
Which is in place, really stock for humanity, and not just humanity, but
That's
humanity is the species with the destructive capability right now.
That's true.
So humanity is the one that matters right now in terms of implementing some karmic feedback cycles that are actually effective. And somebody's showing how recently, meaning in the past 3 months probably, that there's been discussion from wiser minds above, from the godly presences and angels responsible for planet Earth, about how something slightly less than 2% of it probably is humanity on planet Earth, slightly less than 2% in pre-birth planning asked for instant karma, and their guardian angels agreed to do the work that it takes to provide that karmic feedback
during
real
the
time.
life. Yeah.
Yes. And that's ongoing, and there are those presences, and they do receive their karmic feedback, and it's good for them as individuals.
That's true.
But it very good for them as individuals, and it's a beautiful blessing, because then when you die, you've dealt with some of your stuff.
That's
and
true.
You're not just kicked into the factory farms to suffer like everybody else.
That's true. Or other similarly terrible places.
Thank you, yes, or other similarly terrible places, not to imply that that's the only awful outcome.
Exactly.
Thank you. And while this karmic feedback at the upper end of the bell curve is good for the individuals involved, it doesn't seem to be providing a training opportunity for the overall collective of humanity.
That's true.
And the overall collective of humanity might want to see, quote, good people, unquote, rewarded, unquote, but that would be bad for the, quote, good people. So
that's right.
That doesn't even make sense. However, we have the lower end of the bell curve where they're just bad people doing bad things, just greedy, selfish, bullies who lie, cheat, steal, engage in corruption, just shamelessly bad. And there's plenty of them. And they aren't being gifted with instant karma, because to wiser minds above, they're scum, and why would anybody put the time into supervising them? And we can follow
the
that
reasoning.
as individuals. They are scum.
That's true.
But for the collective, how are we going to provide guidance overall to the collective? How are we going to provide steering efforts on a mass scale to anybody other than the top 2%? How are we going to provide any steering effort at all? And somebody up there, unclear who it is, but it's the voice to listen to.
That's true.
Is saying all we have to do is provide equal amounts of instant karma for both tails of the bell curve, the vast bell curve of karma, to simply balance out the karma. As instant karma is being applied on the upper end of the bell curve of karma, also apply the instant karma to the lower end of the bell curve of karma. Simple. And then those super bad people will have pianos falling on them or whatever it is. And then other humans will say, oh, interesting, I saw that guy do a really bad thing, and that didn't look pleasant. What happened to him next? Maybe I'll think again before I plan myself doing really bad things.
Exactly. And the point of the image of the piano falling is that the present upstairs is saying that those presences are doing cartoonishly bad things, things that look like cartoon villains. And so the outcome should be what happens to the cartoon villains. And that's why he said piano falling on the head.
That's interesting. Yes, to have it match, to have the...
That's what he's saying.
The karmic feedback match the action, which is how the wheel of karma turns. And that's one thing that's a beautiful gift of the occupations that these two host lives have, of facilitating angelically guided multidimensional energy healing for soul purpose.
That's true.
Healing sessions, because we see how over and over again it's people's past life actions and past life bad choices that are messing them up in current life.
That's true.
And the beautiful gift of the healing practice of thoroughbred racehorses is those horses are 1, 2, 3 years old, and they racked up that bad karma not all that long ago. Sometimes it's their very recent life. They were just a horrible corporate monster jerk. And now here they are as a racehorse, and they're having some serious issues, and it's coming from being such a selfish jerk last time when they were a human, feeling like nothing bad was ever going to happen to them.
No consequences coming ever.
That's exactly it, feeling that their actions had no consequence. And so to us it's kind of comforting and calming to see, well, the wheel of karma does still turn.
That's true.
But we think that it's really sad that this planet is still being destroyed by humanity's actions.
That's true.
And humanity isn't stopping. Like we have this beautiful blue empty sky.
No
just
birds.
Empty, no birds.
No birds.
And all the dogwood trees in this area are dying.
That's true.
Which is sad, because dogwoods are really pretty. And we're at the southern end of the dogwood range. So both the southern end and the northern end of the ranges for plants are disappearing, because as the atmospheric disruptions continue by humanity's hands, summers get hotter and winters get colder, meaning that it's harder and harder for plants to survive. So plants that used to be able to grow in these latitudes now can only grow in these latitudes, and soon they'll be able to grow in these latitudes, and then maybe they won't be able to grow.
Exactly.
Which will be a very sad, sad time. And that time is coming.
Oh, and you know what that looks like, the consistently shrinking range. It looks like what they're talking about upstairs, about the tail ends of the bell curve.
It does.
Although that's a good thing. but it has a similar image of the bringing the tails closer together, if that makes sense.
Well, what we're talking about actually is, you could think of it as stretching out the tails of the bell curve so you could really see what's happening. It's like, just see what's going on in this bottom 2%. What are they doing? And now immediately provide immediate feedback.
I don't think they were thinking about it like that upstairs.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good point.
Yeah, just put it under the microscope. And everybody upstairs who's saying, and validly, I cannot, in all good conscience, apply instant karma to my charges because my charges are somewhere in the middle of the bell curve. And it's really too complicated because one crazy action leads to another and another and another, and now you can't really tell how the karma should be applied until after the life is over and the person can come back upstairs to a less dense dimension, and we can work through it, watch all the footage over and over again. It's just too hard to do real time. So say the guardian angels, and we can follow that. But if all that unused workforce of guardian angelhood can spend their time really tearing apart the bottom 2% of the bell curve to apply instant karma there, maybe that would be a way to use the resources that aren't being effectively used right now. I'm not sure who's saying it, but it is somebody we should listen to.
It's true. My best guess is Saul, which doesn't mean it's Saul.
That's my best guess also. Yeah. I can feel his lips moving, which usually feels correct. That's usually how you can tell.
That's right.
So the point is, we really want to move beyond this stuck point where we do not seem to be allocating karma timely enough for it to change the behavior patterns of the destructive masses of humanity.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure who's speaking, but it might be that same soul.
I think so also.
We want to move past this stuck point, and on other planets that have reached this level of destruction and have managed to stop the destruction, implementing shorter karmic cycles was an essential part of that effort. And we understand the thought process that in the middle of the bell curve it's too complex to provide karma real time, and we understand that. But on the tails of the bell curve, it's not all that complicated.
That's true. The most extreme cases.
The most extreme cases, the top 2%, we can see how the top 2% are getting their karma provided instantly, and that is wonderful for the top 2%, but it is not providing any kind of motivation to the masses.
That's true.
So the bottom 2%, possibly by implementing instant karma for the bottom 2%, bringing balance to the karmic implication cycles.
That's true.
There might be some learning opportunities provided to the masses, and maybe we can change the behavior of the destructive masses on a mass scale so that the destruction will stop and humanity will turn around and start to head in the direction that it's supposed to be headed in, of achieving sustainability, which means massive reduction in population and stopping the destructive behavior. Just stop it. Just stop it. Stop doing all those destructive things and stop bringing new humans into the world until the population gets down to something that's sustainable, and let the people die who want to die. Just let them die. They want to go, let them go.
It's the same higher power who's speaking.
All the same. Thank you. Angels and godly presences responsible for planet Earth, and they're trying to figure out how to use the resources they have effectively to greatest impact. And that presence is suggesting one thing we could do is take the supervisory capacity that's available in the guardian angel community and apply it other than the guardian angels who are already working with the top 2%.
That's true.
Let them continue to do their job, please. But to bring balance to the tails of the bell curve in terms of shortening the karmic cycles.
That's true.
And let's get everybody else off the bench all those other guardian angels and get them working on the bottom 2%, and maybe they'll find that they can handle the bottom 5% of the bell curve.
Maybe.
And maybe they'll find they can handle the bottom 10% of the bell curve.
Maybe.
But to at least provide balance. And somebody's asking, why can't you also provide positive feedback to the top end of the bell curve? And somebody else is saying, because everybody is messing up, and it's only a question of degree and comparativity.
That's
and
right.
so we really need to show that everybody's messing up by focusing on the lower end of the bell curve of karma. That's what that person says.
I follow.
So I can follow also. And somebody else is saying it also has to do with the twisted thinking of society.
Exactly.
That society thinks that certain things are rewards.
Exactly.
Often having to do with like money, which is just it's an absolute abstract concept. And
exactly.
too much money messes with people's thinking, and it's not a gift. It's a perceived gift that is not a gift. They're pointing to somebody we had the assignment to listen to at a funeral related activity, and she was talking about her son who had committed suicide after he had literally won a lottery, literally won $1 million in a lottery, and then he committed suicide, and she was really suffering because her son had committed suicide.
That's right.
And she was trying to work through what had happened and why had he done that. He didn't leave an explanatory note. He was just dead.
That's right.
And at the time, and since then, we have continued to think it was because he won the lottery.
That's true.
It's a burden. It's not a gift. People think it's a gift, but it isn't.
That's
true. So now the microphone is shifting. So if society at large is waiting for the best of the best to win the lottery before they decide they too should be good, they're not going to ever see that, because winning the lottery isn't a gift.
No, that's true.
So the confusion of society makes it really difficult to steer the masses through working with the best of the best. You have to work with the worst of the worst and steer the masses that way from behind. That's what these presences are saying.
Yes, I hear you.
Nobody is arguing with them in that room.
Not that I hear.
There's a lot of feelings of not wanting to do the work. There's feelings of not wanting to give up my excuse about how I can't possibly do anything.
That's the feeling in that room upstairs.
I don't want to give up the excuse that I can't possibly do anything. And this person is saying, maybe you can't with your charges. And so just kind of like rest or pause that assignment and then go work with the bottom of the bell curve.
That's true.
Stretch it out. Provide supervision. Come on. Do it.